And if it is one time that I'm gonna say this is not, you're not too late. Invest in crypto right now. Tonight if you can. Like, do that shit tonight. You're gonna get a return from it. You know, Bitcoin is a good one, Ethereum, what's the other one you said? Ripple. Invest in that shit. I'm telling y'all right now, this is a quick flip. Do it tonight. It's about to go up. You know, I think it's about to go up. It's not like I got no insider information. I think it's about to go up. But
what a crazy world it is that we live in, and it continues to get ever crazier. You know, sometimes I do just stop and think, wow, how did humanity end up in this kind of state? And I'm sure somebody has the answer for that. That was Big Sean talking about buying crypto. We want to start on something fun in this daily market update. Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome back for another daily market update. We've got some really interesting news to share with you. Google are now coming out with their own layer one. And this news was really broken to me just over the past 24 hours. There's a post here. CME Group will introduce tokenization technology to enhance capital market efficiency using Google Cloud's new universal ledger. Dun, dun, dun. If the likes of the sort of Web 2 owners, the techno-feudalists, Google, like Amazon, like some of these individuals, actually end up essentially not just owning the internet and being and essentially having a monopoly over the internet, but also a monopoly over the Web 3 world, it takes us into quite a scary paradigm, I believe. So we are going to be looking at this news to kick things off. We'll also be going over to the head of strategy Web3 at Google and what he has to say in regards to this unveil. There's no coincidence that now you've had that regulatory clarity, people are coming out of the woodworks. You're going to continue to see that, ladies and gentlemen. Crypto's in a perfect position. Last night with my Patreons, we actually looked at historical technologies and how people made money off of that, and a wealth transfer that comes with new technologies introduced to us. Crypto offers the exact same opportunity, guys. If you become a Patreon today, do go and check last night's meeting out. First thing to do. We're going to be talking about what Ondo are doing. We're going to be looking at who the top Ethereum ETF holders are, and I'll break the news to you right now. It's actually Goldman Sachs, rather interestingly. We'll be doing a little bit of technical work. Markets, it's a lackluster month, guys. You've got that sort of seasonality, unfortunately, to contend with. August, September, typically not great months, but that's going to take us into some sensational months, typically for the markets, being October, November. So we've got a little bit of down or kind of, I guess, lackluster price action to contend with. And then I think we've got a real explosive end to the year. And let's kick things off. So this is new news to me. CME Group will introduce tokenized technology to enhance capital market efficiency using Google's Cloud's new universal ledger. Very, very interesting. They're talking about moving forwards towards 24/7 trading. You are going to end up with this. There's an article that I think better summarizes some of this. Google Cloud and CME Group pilot distributed ledger for trading. Google Cloud and derivatives marketplace CME Group said Tuesday, a couple of days ago, the 25th of March, that they are piloting solutions for wholesale payments and tokenization. The CME successfully completed the first phase of the integration and testing of Google Cloud's distributed ledger. Google Cloud's Universal Ledger, GCUL, the company said in a Tuesday press release, which is this, by the way, over here. The company's added that they will begin direct testing with market participants later this year and plan to launch new services in 2026. The GCUL distributed ledger is designed to simplify the management of accounts and assets, facilitating transfers on a private and permission network, and be easily integrated and used by financial institutions in traditional finance, according to the release. Google Cloud's Universal Ledger has the potential to deliver significant efficiencies for collateral margin, settlement, and fee payments as the world moves towards 24/7 trading. CME Group Chairman and CEO Jerry Duffy said in a release. Rohit Bhatt, General Manager of Financial Services at Google Cloud, said in the release that the partnership and the CME group to develop this solution demonstrates how Google Cloud helps partners transform their business through strategic collaboration and modern infrastructure, unlocking significant opportunities for the global financial markets. Distributed ledger technology has long been promised to upend traditional financial services by determining or disintermediating everything that banks do, from settlement to expansion. I think this is somewhat dangerous. It actually goes on to say both the public and private integrations of blockchain technology promise some version of faster, more secure and transparent transactions, according to PYMNTS, Intelligence and Solana's collaboration, blockchain benefits regulatory industries. It also talks actually about Hedera, which is pretty interesting. In October, digital payment SKUX and consumer package modelers, they're the guys behind Oreos, now Cadbury's, everything, Ritz, said they wrapped up the first phase of partnerships in which they are working on payment innovation projects in conjunction with open source distributed ledger. I have mixed feelings about this. The world is going to embrace distributed ledgers. What we don't want is the same oligopolies that have control over the internet and everybody's data ultimately doing the same thing with Web3. Perhaps a little bit of hypocrisy here, because I ultimately back crypto projects that work with large institutions, but they work with many of them, not just one. I think there's issues with Google having their own ledger, and that, just like what they have with search engines, becoming the dominant one. You want competition, and it's not just because you don't want one person sort of being in power. I think you kind of need to elect a leader. And this is what sort of Silicon Valley believe, that they are the rightful inheritors or the rightful leaders of the world because they're smarter than you guys. And they're engineering that through tech. But you don't want one monopoly because it kills competition, it stifles innovation. There's a number of reasons why you don't want this, just perhaps beyond kind of totalitarianism. This is interesting. We'll see how this progresses. It's my opinion that you need public distributed ledgers, not private ones, to enable this kind of global internet of value. There is, however, going to be an intermesh. Every business is going to have to adopt DLTs. Some that are big enough, like Google, are probably going to facilitate their own, but they will interact through protocols like CCIP and Interledger and things like this with the broader world. And actually, I think the majority of traffic and transactions actually take place on public ledgers. There is a place for private ones, and perhaps in specific use cases like this. But you want to watch this story because you don't want Google's layer one becoming the dominant one. That's not a great paradigm and world that potentially we may end up living in. But it's logical to think that the likes of Google are going to venture on this. There was a LinkedIn post 1 day ago. So after this news broke, and it's from Rich Widman. It says, all this talk of layer one blockchains has brought Google's own layer one into focus. It's coming kind of out of the woodworks, right? As a product lead in crypto, you know that if you're building a layer one, it has to be differentiated. Thanks to Chuck, whatever, for his helpful chart comparing Stripe and Circle's blockchains. Okay. I went ahead and added information about our blockchain, which we call Google Cloud Universal Ledger, or GCUL, dystopian. GCUL brings together years of R&D at Google to provide, which is basically just data, to provide financial institutions with a novel layer one that is performant, credibly neutral. How can it be credibly neutral? And enables Python-based smart contracts. That's a smart move because Python's got a large pool of developers. I've done lots of videos with people on that. It's why institutions like the CME chose Universal Ledger to explore tokenization and payments on one of the largest commodities exchanges in the world, leveraging GCUL. It gives us the link. Besides bringing to bears Google's distribution, GCUL is a neutral infrastructure layer. Tether won't use Circle's blockchain, and Adyen probably won't use Stripe's blockchain, but any financial institutions can build on GCUL. We'll be releasing more technical details in the coming months. This is something to watch are you looking at the same Web 2 players looking to dominate the Web 3 space and ultimately kind of centralize it via that? For example, Google is a Hedera Governing Council member, so it's one of the individuals that kind of looks after the Hedera network, helps to run it, but there are like 30 other ones. So there's no centralization there. Whereas if you've just got one individual in charge of validating things, yeah, and to say it's neutral, I mean, I don't know, mixed feelings about this. They go and put a chart underneath. You can see this. You've got Stripe, Google. You've got Stripe, Circle, and Google. Rather interesting. I have real mixed feelings about this, to be quite honest with you. I don't think it's such a good sort of revelation. However, we like to keep you guys up to date on the news, the latest and greatest news happening in the crypto space and the broader markets on a daily basis. And this is really some news that I think is worth talking to you guys about. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, what you think about sort of Google now facilitating their own layer one. Ondo coming out with some good news. In 7 days, the US markets become truly global. And you want, if you're a stock guy, you want broader access to those stocks so that you can ultimately pump your own bags. And that's kind of why this technology or this strategy is to the forefront. You're democratizing markets. That was Larry Fink's whole letter to his investors. And you're going to introduce new participants to those markets. You're going to bring on nearly 2 billion people with this technology. Of course, Google want a piece of that. Of course, other people want a piece of that. But this is really interesting what's happening. So this is interesting. This is something to watch. It's all kind of moving forward. Some interesting news in regards to who the largest Ethereum ETF holders are. And it happens to be Goldman Sachs with $721 million of exposure to the Ethereum ETFs. Then you've got Jane Street Group, you've got Millennium Management. You can see that Goldman's really the largest one. And I think that's interesting, very telling of what's to come. We do think Ethereum is on a broader path to around about $14,000. You guys know the plan when it comes to crypto, guys. Hang in there. 300K coming for Bitcoin in our assessment. The total cryptocurrency market cap is just on the cusp of breaking into all-time high price discovery. Become a patron now. You will get the cup and handle course, and this is going to give you confidence in regards to where the total market cap, including Bitcoin, is heading. We're looking at some other really interesting things. Ethereum a little bit more perky today. Obviously, we own kind of Ethereum strategy companies as a play on Ethereum. I think that's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. We wanted to cover the Google news because it's important. Again, I don't believe you want the kind of monopoly gang of Web 2 actually entering Web 3 and certainly becoming the dominant players like they are in Web 2. That's a scary world. This movement is all about kind of fostering decentralization. To kind of go against that, I think there's naturally going to be a pushback, but it's only right to think that Google and some of these other kind of individuals would enter the race and get on board with the technology. It's kind of their job to do so. That's so obviously going to engulf the world. That's it from me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to love and leave you all. Have a fantastic Thursday. We love you here at Allincrypto, and we'll see you all in the next one.